Council Transportation Committee. I'd like to officially call the meeting to order Wednesday, February 12, 2025. Have to my far left, I know she's on the way back to her seat, but you will see Councilmember Overstreet, Vice Chair, then Councilman Hillis. To my right, Councilmember Wan and Councilmember Faroka as well. We have a quorum to conduct business, so I make a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion has been made and seconded. Councilmember Faroka, what's the second? Please open the vote. Councilmember Hillis, what's the second?
I'm sorry, Hillis. Thank you, sir.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the minutes. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Would everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Thank you. And as I promised, our Vice Chair is back with us. Councilmember Overstreet has joined us. That takes us to our 2025 Transportation Committee goals and objectives. Everyone in the committee should have them. Please, if you have any suggestions, comments, or concerns, please email them to Mr. Johnson before the 21st. We'll be looking to adopt them at our next meeting, February 26th. So with that being said, that takes us to our public comment. I remind everyone you have 3 minutes. Please keep your comments directed toward the committee and respectful. First, we have Mr. Martinez.
Good morning, esteemed members of Atlanta City Council Transportation Committee. We are the organized rideshare drivers of the airport. Stand before you today to express our concerns and demands. Exploitation. We are facing exploitation ride-hailing companies like Uber and Lyft, unfair pay structures, unpredictable income and lack of benefits, mistreatment at the airport, Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta Airport. Drivers face unreasonable restrictions and lack of respect at the airport and the Atlanta Police Department. Atlanta airport drivers are striking on the 14th at the airport on Valentine's Day with United States across the country, including Atlanta. We are united demands for fair wages, deactivation protections, safety, and a right to unionize. We urge the City Council to investigate the practices of ride-hailing companies operating within the city limits, advocate for legislation that protects the rights and livelihoods of Uber and Lyft and rideshare drivers, and collaborate. Collaborate with us to develop policies that address the concerns that we have raised today. We believe that a strong, thriving Atlanta depends on fair, equitable rideshare transportation drivers. We are ready to work with the city and achieve this goal. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I just want to also note, I sent an email out to everyone last month and never got a response. So I don't know if I need to email one person or email everyone. And I guess we can figure that out later. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I have several people that signed up that looks like want to speak on the same topic. So if your sentiments have been heard, just let me know. Next, we have Cohen, C-H-O-U-M-A-N, it looks like.
He was here to speak. He was here to solidarity.
Okay.
Some of the drivers do want to speak, though. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I just go down the list as is.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next, we have Brother Muhammad. You are correct. So you will have 6 minutes, sir. Okay, we never had that to happen. The speaker that was called to leave the chamber. So we're going to move on. Mr. McNeil, please. Charlie McNeil.
That's me. That's me.
Okay.
I'm here in solidarity.
Solidarity. Ola Doley. Solidarity as well, or you like to speak? Okay, thank you. Look like R-A-U-A-Y? M-A-U-K, it seems.
Is it Malik Ali?
Yes. Speaking or like to speak?
Apologies for my writing.
Okay. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Malik Ali. I agree with everything that Mr. Martinez said today, and excuse me for my nervousness, but I come today to represent the voice of many who have felt powerless towards the circumstances that stand against them and the injustices that stand against their families. We're hopeful that you will stand with us today as God stands with us to bring forth justice and fairness to all in this industry. I humble myself before you today as we are powerless to make a transformation and reform without your support and without your blessing. We are not here today to just bring a reform for ourselves, but to bring a reform for the next generation, that they won't struggle in the way that we are. We kindly ask that all of you who have the ability to support our cause to reflect on this, that maybe one day your children or cousin or uncle, auntie, maybe even grandparents would drive for Uber or for Lyft. We ask that you put yourself in our shoes today, just as our forefathers and mothers of this country that fought for liberty, that they never tasted, but they did it for the next generation. I ask you to put yourself in our shoes, just as the Lord Jesus Christ did over 2,000 years ago. And this isn't about religion, but an example. And the Lord felt our pain and went through our suffering. Please don't deny our cry for your support today. Let us work together, and the generations to come would be able to prosper for a better tomorrow. It starts now. It starts with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on the list, look like Nazaree Fairburn. Solidarity, thank you. Then Miss Ramsey. Solidarity. Okay, that brings us to the end of our list, in which I try to treat everyone fairly. So I was called the name 3 times, Brother Muhammad. Brother Muhammad. For the 4th time, Brother Muhammad. That closed out our speaking list. That takes us to presentations. Commissioner Cabinets. You just left.
Good morning, Transportation Committee, all the members. Solomon Cavanis, Department of Transportation, Commissioner. Good to see everyone. Happy Wednesday. So we're going to give our first quarter of 2025 presentation. Today we'll talk about the emergency response that we had over our winter season. We'll discuss our Vision Zero program, of course, capital projects, engineering that supports capital projects, and service requests, and finally, state of good repair. Again, our vision and mission is to make sure that we take care of the quality of safety, equity, and mobility for the city, but also design and plan to make sure that we provide transportation for all. Our core values include safety, customer service, high quality of customer service, transparent accountability is a core tenet, and employee commitment. We want to make sure that we take care of our employees and we're committed to our employees' wellness. We're going to talk about the storms Cora and Enzo briefly. I just want to recognize our fabulous team for all the work they did on behalf of the city of Atlanta. Just as a point of reference, during storms, we have emergency calls around the clock, 24 hours, every 2 hours. So we do our reporting and we monitor the entire program, winter weather program throughout. So as we look at some of the data for this quarter, you'll see that it obviously was impacted by all the hard work from our staff. But we took care of over 800 miles of roadway between the storms. And that includes our priority 1, 2, and 3 roadways. So just want to, again, give all due praise to the Atlanta Department of Transportation, also Watershed Management and Public Works for all their support and all of your support in working with the public to stay home during the storms. Obviously, we had a couple other incidents, one including the water main on Peachtree Road, whereby we deployed barricades and other resources. So just want to call that out in terms of all the work we've done, and communications. Communications has been our conduit to the public, and the public has been quite responsive. So those numbers we've seen increasing over time, and that has been a great benefit to us getting our work done. We'll talk about Vision Zero briefly. Our Vision Zero program is one of our signature programs. Since the start of the Atlanta Department of Transportation, or inception of this department, we've seen thereabouts over 40% drop in fatalities throughout the city. So safety is a core tenet in what we do and taking care of our folks. That means that a spouse gets to come home every day, one more spouse gets to come home every day, one more child, one more family member gets to come home and eat dinner with their family. So we're looking forward to those trends going downward over time, and by 2040, our data analysis should yield, well, we're hoping to yield 0 fatalities, but 1 fatality is too many. So again, we have our Vision Zero action plan, which we've implemented as of April 2024, and we are implementing those strategies and rigorously pursuing safety throughout the city. So let's skip or jump over to capital projects across the city. We'll talk about some of those activities that are under construction and our forecast in 2025. So obviously, phase 1 of the Complete Streets project on Cascade has been accelerated. We've been working very hard to get that completed in 2025. It is a product of our Renew Atlanta program, and we finally got that momentum that we've been pushing so hard to bring to bear. So Howell Mill Complete Streets is ongoing. You've seen a lot of great progress along Howell Mill, and we're going to work with our utilities and contractor to get as much of that done as soon as possible. Joseph E. Lowry Complete Streets is ongoing. We've taken care of many sidewalks, ADA ramps, and we're looking for substantial completion in spring 2026. So that's been going very well for us. Juniper Street Complete Streets is an ongoing program. We have confirmed substantial completion in June of 2025, so we're really excited about Juniper Street and bringing that home. And 5th Street Complete Streets, we're close to substantial completion next month. So a lot of great progress throughout the city. I'll speak briefly about some of our other roadway improvements. Unpaved roadways is an important project throughout the city, and we're on phase 1. And Hirsch Road, we completed, or we're looking to complete this month, and Mount Perrin, Northside Parkway, we're looking to have that complete next month. We have our part 2 of the phase 1 on the horizon, so we're anticipating that work. Wyuka Road and all the great work up north is steadily moving. The roundabout is moving with great progress. However, we have some utility work that's going to impact people getting around soon, but looking forward to bringing that home. Also in 2026, and the infamous Spring Street Viaduct. So the MLK corridor over to Ted Turner is underway, and we anticipate completion of that connection end of April of this year. So we'll finally be able to open that up and get access to and from the sports complex. Okay. Path 400 Foundation and Atlanta Beltline, some of our partnership work. Miami Circle, we completed back in December, and Wyuka and Lorden's is ongoing, looking at substantial completion this June. And the infamous Monroe and 10th Street project is shaping up It's really nice. There's been some negotiating amongst the community with the new configuration, and we're trying to make sure that everyone realizes the benefits of that project. We also had a ribbon cutting for the art barricade along 10th Street, protecting the bike lane. So that has been well received, and we're very proud of that work. I'll speak briefly to a few pavement projects throughout the city. Andrew Young International Boulevard, we started ADA ramps, and resurfacing will begin soon. Centennial Olympic Park has begun. Whiteford Avenue is started, and University Avenue obviously was completed. There's some ADA work that we're completing. Peachtree Street will see improvements, and obviously Hank Aaron with the MARTA Rapid program is ongoing. Edgewood, Decatur Streets have improvements, but a lot of great work going on. So this chart speaks to some of the equity. We have projects throughout the city from our southwest side to central to southeast Atlanta, and this just calls out how equitable our work is. But in 2024, we've seen work throughout the city. So it's really important that we recognize all the great work that's been ongoing throughout the city. And again, I won't stay on these slides too long, but all council members have seen work in their districts, and we're very proud of all the work that we have ongoing. So I'll jump to our engineering design work that is ongoing. So there's been a lot of conversation around progress. So in 2024, we saw momentum building. We've hired and we've done a lot of work to make ATLDOT an impactful department. So when we speak about projects and all the work, we follow a strategic deployment model or strategic deployment plan that was assigned as part of our Moving Atlanta Forward program, and we've tried to apply that and those principles across our entire capital program. So that includes Renew, which we're looking to close out as soon as possible. Many of those projects, we're meeting with council members to try to get those off the books, or at least started and off the books. And our capital improvement program, which includes many projects that are not necessarily on a list. It's on our list, but we partner with our CIDs and others to bring those to bear. And this just speaks to the number of projects that are in our engineering phase. You know, there's been a lot of conversation about activation, engineering, procurement, and construction. So as an outlook and forecast going as we enter 2025, we can expect procurement and construction of at least 17 projects in Moving Atlanta Forward. Also, a number of projects to close out our Renew program, and our capital program will continue to move forward. This is just a chart that speaks to some of the progress from our Q3 numbers and to Q1. I know we just presented our quarterly report back in December, so we thought that we'd give a picture of what all the work we've done and the progress as we move forward. So this is Renew in our capital improvement program, and this is our Moving Atlanta Forward program and those numbers. So you'll find that we have substantial numbers in planning and scoping, but the previous slide spoke to how many have moved to engineering and design, and that gets us closer to construction. And over the next 6 months, again, we're looking to have these shovels in the ground and moving. Moving on to service requests, this illustrates the percentage of service requests quarter to quarter. Obviously, we were impacted by the emergency operations and events that we've all made it through in January. And you'll see these numbers reflect substantial work, but we have a lot more work to do. This speaks to our SLAs and timing. So there has been an improvement, although the quarter, we're only in February, but there has been improvement in terms of addressing our key SLAs throughout the city. And going back to this chart, even though we may have been impacted by, externalities and weather events, it speaks to the actual work getting done. We are addressing the work. And going back to potholes, I'll just speak to the impacts of weather through January, and the team is committed to getting those back up. So looking forward to making that happen. Our Light of the Night public-private partnership, which we're very proud of, has brought us to 15,000 plus streetlights converted and new installs. We look to close out this program second quarter of 2025 and work with all the council members to make sure that we go back and see how we're doing with our lighting up the night to make sure that safety and visibility is a priority. And with that, I say our social media channels are posted here. I'd like to encourage everyone to use these channels for updates and information and feedback. So thank you, Transportation Committee.
Thank you, sir. As you line up to speak, please hit your speaker button. Just want to let everyone know we've been joined by Councilmember Dozier, Councilmember Westmoreland, and Councilmember Lewis as well. Any speakers, questions? Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. Always good to see you.
Yes,
my first question is probably going to be the easiest for you. The MLK Viaduct project, because I get a lot of questions about that. I appreciate you including that in the presentation. Can you talk about what substantially, I forgot the terminology, substantially complete, substantially, use the term in there. That's substantial completion, April 2025. What does that mean compared to complete?
Yeah. Substantial completion addresses all the major civil work associated with the scope. So if there are punch list items or items that we, in terms of quality checks, we go back and work with the contractor to make sure that we can close it out completely. What we found with substantial completion is, feedback from council members, from the community. We want to make sure that those are, before we let the contractor off the hook. Yeah. So speaking directly to the Spring Street Bridge, we'll have the bridge in place, the sidewalks and the corridor will be established and ready for opening, and ribbon cutting, if possible. But there is a coating, ASR coating that is required because that concrete had a disease, if you will, in not engineering terms, but that we've been working with the contractor to resolve, and that should be all in place going into May. So substantial completion.
Thank you. Does that include the extension of the MLK bike lane west?
Yes.
That's part of that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And then I had a question with regards to Peter Street. I know Peter Street and Trinity Avenue are both GDOT routes. With a lot of the work that's happening in Castleberry Hill as part of the $120 million bond package that we approved last year. I'm curious what the coordination with GDOT has been with regards to improvements on Peter Street. I had a great meeting with Path Foundation earlier this week, and they shared with me that apparently GDOT is looking to redesign and reconfigure the bike infrastructure in Castleberry Hill, specifically on Peter Street. That bike lane is with the car lane, and so cars use it to drive, and they're doing some good things. I wasn't aware of that because it's a GDOT project. They're not as communicative as our city's Department of Transportation. But one challenge that I've been trying to navigate with my constituents there, particularly in the commercial corridor between Fair and Walker, is the sidewalk. There's some sidewalk challenges there that we've been trying to figure out. How do we get repaired, recognizing that it is a GDOT right-of-way, even willing to commit discretionary dollars to do that repair work. Wasn't sure if that's part of the sidewalk repair work as part of the $120 million bond, considering that y'all have already started work on Nelson Street, just a couple blocks away, trying to see if that can also include Peter Street. I haven't gotten a response from the department yet about Peter Street specifically, but wanted to see if you have some thoughts about that and see if we can flex some of the construction crews out there to do some repair work on that Peter Street corridor, recognizing it's a GDOT right away, but want to make sure that, the entire Castleberry Hill community can get some love from the work we're putting in support of future downtown activities.
And just to speak to the relationship with GDOT, we meet with them monthly, and anytime we need to huddle with council, we can put those on the calendar. I'll have to follow up with staff and department to think about making sure that we're ready, and that's taking care of the sidewalks, especially in Peters. So.
And I'd be happy to even do a site visit with the team. We did it a couple years ago, largely focused around some of the parking challenges in Castleberry, but want to re-elevate the sidewalk-specific issues that we have out there as well.
Receive.
And my next question is one that, just speaking of the $120 million bond, I know there's some active construction that's happening. Marietta Street being one of the streets that was part of that list. Centennial Olympic Park Drive, I know, I reached out to you and CO Burks about this the other day. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure that, as per the amendments that myself and Councilmember Westmoreland introduced during that discussion and debate here at council, that we ensure that we're investing in infrastructure that is long-term, that is thinking beyond just World Cup, making downtown more livable. And at the end of the day, I'm not happy seeing families having to play Frogger across Centennial Olympic Park Drive, trying to go to the Children's Museum, trying to get to Centennial Olympic Park, and recognizing there's already a ton of plans around doing some safe streets work on Centennial Olympic Park Drive. I don't want to lose the forest for the trees. And I know we flex LMIG dollars to ensure that Centennial Olympic Park Drive get some of the state funding love in addition to the bond financing. I know that the Path Foundation is also looking at COPD as part of their, the Olympic Trail Phase 1 work. And if we're spending all this money to do the milling and repaving, to think that we might have to do that all over again in just a couple of years is a little disheartening. And so I just want to see what we can do to move forward to ensure that we have bike infrastructure, better pedestrian safety infrastructure, all those sorts of things, so that we're not revisiting this work in a couple of years.
And those comments are appreciated. We are taking all of those comments as we go through each corridor, and we'd like to better coordinate with council to make sure we understand each other to the best of our abilities, especially considering all the future plans and all the work. So we'll follow up with you, Council, if that's okay, and Councilmember Westmoreland.
Thank you. And I know as well, Central Line of Progress is very interested in that route as well. And I know they probably have pinged y'all too, but at the end of the day, just want to make sure that we're not putting lipstick on a pig, and the pig being a 5-lane car sewer right next to our downtown's most active and busiest park. And so we want to make it safer for people. Just while in the conversation of LMIG dollars, when we did the realignment of our district projects last year, a street that I had included on that, which is 4 Wall Street in Mechanicsville, I wanted to see that repaved as part of that program. I recognize the need to change priorities. I'm still interested in seeing that street paved as quickly as we can. I'm willing to even commit, destined dollars or discretionary dollars for moving line forward. But just would love to talk with someone with the team to see what we can do to move that forward. It's about 2 blocks. It's not a large stretch. However, it's probably one of the worst non-asphalted streets in my district. And so want to see what we can do to move that forward as quickly as we can.
Which street was that? Sorry.
It's Formwalt Street between Ralph David Abernathy and Glen Street. I've been working with the department on making some changes to no parking signs on that same stretch. So it's something that the department's already familiar with, but the condition of the street has been a challenge for years, and should be some relatively low-hanging fruit in terms of our ability to execute repaving and resurfacing, but want to try to get that done. I've been talking about for several years now, came off the LMIG list, and I want to at least make sure we get the project done, even if we don't have state dollars attached to it.
The team will follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I know you alluded to closing out Renew Atlanta. I sent several projects, mainly rapid flashing beacons we want to use the remainder of our Renew Atlanta funding to support. Any update on when we can expect to see those sort of projects implemented? I mean, the biggest one that I've been trying to get done is on Lee Street by West End MARTA Station. That crossing at York Avenue is highly trafficked for pedestrians. However, Lee Street is also a very high-speed route, and I think it's important that if we have funding, let's spend it down, especially since this is the previous T-SPLOST package, let alone the Moving Atlanta Forward we've been discussing. So I don't know if
So, Council, I'll have to follow up with the team in terms of where it is. I know we've already initiated that process. Part of it was materials, and we're going to try to expedite that. That's a issue that we're addressing across the city, because obviously the beacons are very popular and effective. So we will follow up within the week in terms of the status.
Okay.
And especially Lee Street.
All right, thank you. And this is my last question. I know, kind of pelted you with a bunch of questions about infrastructure projects, but one of the things that I thought was important was that we try to work to make our streets safer beyond infrastructure. And so, which is why, I'm thankful for my colleagues for supporting my effort to implement a no turn on red policy in downtown and midtown. Do we have a status on the completion of that? I know we gave y'all to the end of the year, but wanted to see if y'all have an update on that.
So we've started the process in terms of our budgeting and our project management plan. We are on track to get that finished by the end of the year. So if there's any additional information we can provide for you in terms of schedule, how we're breaking it up and how we're contracting, we're considering contracting that out, considering our forces. We'll get that to everyone, because I know that's an important initiative.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you so much. And with that, I yield the floor, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, sir. Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate the presentation. Also appreciate the meeting we had yesterday. I'm sure my colleagues are going to be focusing more on the operational aspects of your department. I want to lean into the Moving Atlanta Forward and Renew Atlanta Progress. I want to, on page 16, you talk about 17 Moving Atlanta Forward projects moving into construction over the next 6 months. Do you have a guesstimate on the number of Renew that will go into construction?
We have 5 Renew projects that are not already going into construction. So,
okay, great. So I would ask that as you continue your quarterly reports, that's a helpful. If you're going to call out Moving Atlanta Forward, let's also include the Renew projects. Okay. On the next page, I'm a little confused here, and it's first of all, it's good to see the progress from July 2024 to January in terms of movement of projects through down the chain. However, it looks, if I'm reading this correctly, did some of the engineering and design projects under Renew Atlanta actually move backwards? Did we just correct that? Because it went, the numbers don't match in terms of progression unless that was the case.
We had to go back and do some scoping. So short answer, yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, that's good. So long as we're scrubbing and making the data that we're seeing now for January 25 more accurate, more reflective of status, I'm good with that. The increase of total Renew projects from 122 in July to 125 in January 2025, sorry. What's that from? How are we adding projects?
We had to break up some of the initial projects and add it to our number.
Perfect. Okay, that's good. Appreciate that explanation. The $120 million bond issuance, is that included in the capital delivery column, or is there a separate, would there be a separate tracking of that that's non-Renew Atlanta capital and non-Moving Atlanta Forward?
Yeah, the nature of the bond has lended us to break that out. Okay. So the way that will be reported will look different because it's its own program. And now we're focusing on what we've established. We have to make sure that those design packages are contracted. And
so in the next report, will we see a third sheet that tracks that, or is it not apples to apples?
I cannot commit to that right now. It's not apples to apples.
Okay.
The way we're going to operationalize the bond package is a bit unique.
Okay.
But we can have a conversation about how
Okay.
you guys want to see it.
Again, I think
Progress.
if we're tracking these big funding packages, I think it would be helpful for us to be able to see, even if it's not apples to apples, however y'all are tracking, so we can follow progress. That's obviously on a tighter timeline. And so we'll only get, 3 or 4 more quarterly reports where that would be in there. But I think it is equally important for us to be able to monitor that as well. Because I just don't want us to find ourselves first quarter of 2026 and we haven't deployed or moved as quickly as we can. And then finally, I appreciate this is great in terms of us being able to now follow movement. However, is there a way to also tie back to the audit metrics in terms of funding deployed? Because a lot of times the public doesn't necessarily understand that going from not started to planning and scoping is kind of a minor milestone. And it's really once you get down into the later ones where money is moving because we're getting heavier in design or we're almost shovels in the ground. So to me, that's equally as important as the stages in it. Again, people are fixated on the 10% of moving Atlanta forward that was deployed. I think we got to kind of get folks comfortable saying that, okay, now in January, we've deployed X percent, and then the next time we see you, it's going to be an even bigger percent. So is there a way to do that for both Renew and moving Atlanta forward?
If anyone knows financials are lagging, and we're reporting on our dashboard. One of the recommendations from the audit was the way we're reporting on our dashboard. How can we be more clear about the financials? So that is a programmatic question that obviously we have to ensure we can share that, but it's obviously doable. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna put that request out there. I'm gonna put a pin in it because I'm looking forward to seeing the administration's report regarding the budgets and spend downs and remaining balances for moving Atlanta forward and Renew, and maybe that'll strike or spark the conversation again. But I do think from a public accountability side, again, what you presented is great. I think there's one more layer that we need to be transparent about with the public, and that is dollars deployed. And I think, again, probably that report will be a catalyst for where we're at, and then also how we're going to continue reporting forward. But I appreciate the leaning into this section, and I'll continue to follow it. So thank you, Commissioner.
Councilmember Lewis.
Commissioner, how are you, sir?
Great, sir. It's good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Yes, sir.
I'll be pretty simple and quick with my questions. So thank you first for the active project list. The Southeast projects, the Macon Drive, Old Hateville Road, Bromack Drive signals, safe routes to school, action plans, the Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard safe streets, Cleveland Ave safe streets, Cleveland Ave sidewalk installation, and Metropolitan Parkway sidewalk installation shows priority and shows you looking at District 12. So I truly appreciate that. I also wanted to give not only the paperwork, I want to say the meetings that we're having. When you have Miss Nicole Hollis, John Saxton, Miss Betty Smoot Madison, Miss Carla Smith, Miss Chandra, you have a group of teammates that have been working with us. I've been able to work with them directly to get these things done since our last meeting. So I feel really confident in the team that we're working with. The Safe Routes to School project with Mr. John Saxton and Miss Nicole Hollis. We had a meeting last week, and Miss Betty had a meeting last week at Crawford Long Middle School. And it was talking about expanding the protected bike lanes. And it shows intention to the community, because 2 years ago, what we did was we put the first sample of bike lanes, and I called it the bike lanes to nowhere. But what we did was we showed the community that this could work. We showed the community that we could do it here. And what I heard people saying in the community was, right in front of Crawford Long, it looks like Boulevard, it looks like Buckhead. And so what we're doing now is expanding that from Crawford Long Middle School all the way to Mount Zion Road, with the goal of taking it to Cleveland Avenue one day. And it shows the community how you just keep putting pieces together to do things. So I truly appreciate working with your office on this and working with your department on this. The next steps I think my community needs is Brownsmere Road. University Road used to be the worst road in the state of Georgia after Metropolitan Parkway was, and we fixed both. Brownsmere Road is the worst road in the state of Georgia, and it belongs to the city of Atlanta, which is totally different. So if we can get the meetings going, our community, they're talking about Brownsmere Road, Conley Road, they're talking about those too. So if we can get some community meetings going on about those as soon as possible, because the transportation chair of the South River Garden community is Ashley Fogel-Lewis. And so when they are asking me about my meetings, it's my wife sitting next to me asking me, why aren't we talking about Conley Road? Why aren't we talking about Brownsmere Road? Because this is true local stuff bubbling up. So thank you again for your attention paid to my community. Thank you for your terminology used today, shovels in the ground. Thank you for watching the Southeast. And I look forward to this year actually getting a lot of this stuff done. Thank you again.
And Councilmember, thank you for those comments. I appreciate it. Browns Mill, if I'm not mistaken, scheduled March 11th.
Thank you for giving me that.
Yes, sir.
So Brownsmere Road will have we will talk about Brownsmere Road improvements on March 11th in District 12 or District 1, because it's both of us. So I truly appreciate that, and I appreciate your team for watching us. This shows if we work together what we can do. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next would be, oh, wait a minute, nope. I hit it too fast, but I saw our Vice Chair, Councilwoman Overstreet.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I don't have much to speak about, to be honest. Can you believe that? Because I just feel like District 11 is under construction. And we are taking all kinds of weird routes right now. We really are under construction, and it's largely in part due to ATLDOT. So we're receiving the things that we're asking for and that we're bringing attention to. I do have a couple questions about something that was brought to my attention today, actually, as I was coming in. It is about a missing stripe on Niskey Lake. Now, we've talked about this quite a bit, and I actually agree with my constituent about the fact that that stripe needs to be there. I know I had a conversation with the team, your team, about why the stripe is not there. And it's something to do with the width of a road on a curve, that a white stripe gives the perception that you're going off the road or something. But I think it's the opposite. I think the white stripe keeps you on the road. So can you explain that to me?
Not given the context, I'm sorry, I haven't heard about that other than speaking to Brother Muhammad outside. So he gave me a heads up, and I'd love the instant feedback. I'll tell you that. I'll definitely follow up and follow up with the team.
Well, we're checking in regularly, so I'll circle back.
Yeah.
If you all can give me more information about Niskey Lake and the missing white stripe.
Okay.
Okay.
White stripe.
Yeah, the missing white stripe. I do feel, and I've driven it, and we've already lost a MARTA route because that road is a little quirky, and I don't want it to be quirky anymore. So let's speak about that. I've also recently driven Danforth, both directions, where we landed with the speed humps. I actually really like, personally, I do. So I want to thank you all for that also. I do the drive through Cascade Road at least every other day, if not every day, just to make sure people are at work. So I'm checking too. And I'm taking pictures so that I can put it all together later. And I saw the huge hole for the watershed work that's happening. And I was so thrilled, like my heart went pitter patter. So, I know that it's really hard for the community right now. For that reason, that's why I feel the necessity to make sure people are at work, because we are really taking it on the chin. And I want to get this completed. So we're strong, we're hanging in there, and we're hoping that our sacrifice now is going to shorten this time frame so that we can start walking on our new sidewalks. Cascade's never had those sidewalks. I'm so excited. I can already feel it. So I just wanted to thank you for that, for staying the course with the Cascade Complete Streets. I actually received calls from people in the way that they were notified about the Complete Streets with the details, and I want to thank you all for that too. You listened to me in how best to communicate to those. I would like to talk to you offline about exactly which portions received what, so that we can fill in some plugs if that's necessary. But in general, I think people got the message. I think that the detour signs are specific, and I'm just pleased. District 11 is under construction. I'm looking forward to this summer. I think that it's going to be breezy. I do.
Thank you for those comments, Councilman.
That's actually it for me. I yield.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So it puts us back on track. Councilman Hillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Cavanis, for the presentation. A few things. One, I'm not going to rehash the audit, which was presented and responded to by our COO. But one important thing I did want to bring up, which we have chatted about, is your most powerful tool is information and getting that information out. And that is where a lot of the emails from our constituents come from about projects, and then you hear from us getting updates, when projects are going to start. This dashboard, as I spoke about in that meeting, there's no information. I mean, this is when you go to the ATLDOT homepage, you click on dashboard, and you basically see a map of roads, dots. If you click on those, it doesn't even give you the name. It gives you how much the project cost, and no timelines or anything. So I think to make it easier on your department, easier on us getting that information out to people, is you need a much more powerful dashboard. And at least from what I can tell, everything is kind of scattered out. You know, I don't know if there's still a T-SPOS 1.0, those bonds dashboard and the MAF dashboard, but you should be able to go to one map and see the city and see all of the projects that you are working on, no matter what stage they're in. And people should be able to get not just updates, but accurate and up-to-date information about these projects. And I think that would relieve a lot of the pressure and emails that we get from constituents who have been waiting on projects to be delivered for, well, some now over 10 years. And hopefully they're coming down the home stretch. But that would be, want to reiterate that request that was brought up.
Absolutely. We are evaluating that and collectively with our other partner departments working on it in dashboard improvements as per the COO's recommendation.
Since no one else brought it up, I of course will, but as Councilmember Juan noted, is your project or maintenance closeouts and SLAs continue to be very in the red. And I'll just highlight a few, starting with the first word in their names, emergency repair of signs and emergency traffic signal repair. The first one is at 16%, and the other one is at 7, almost 8%, well into the red. There are many others in the red, mostly from, looks to be sign shop, signal repairs, and, well, you had a slide on potholes, only 37% of those requests are meeting their SLA. So what is needed to get more of these into at least the yellow and hopefully achieve some more green as we go along? So I don't think moving the goalpost is the answer. I think you obviously and your department need more help and more staff. So how do we get these SLAs addressed?
So I just want to make a point of clarity. This is only a review of the first quarter up from through February or mid-February. So it's not a great representation of our progress and activity. I will also mention, again, the impacts, not to excuse the work, but the impacts due to weather. I think I heard you say it's good to see green, more green, council member, so I appreciate that. However, relative to the percentages on the SLAs, that speaks to the time, making sure we meet the timeline. However, if you go to the actual percentage of work, we've done, in some cases, more than we were asked for that quarter. And we definitely are working on operational improvements, which we've talked about before. So we look forward to seeing green across the board, but we're working on operational improvements, not so much financial, because when we talk about help, we are getting help, but it's not as much financial as it is operational. And this report speaks to impacts of the weather, most recent weather. So I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Indeed, and somewhat to that point, even on the previous page where you're looking at service requests and you include the fourth quarter, we still have some in 20s, 30s, and 40s, including those emergency, or not the emergency, but just want to continue to see progress, because I'm not just looking at, this page. This translates from what I see in real time when I drive through my neighborhoods and I see signs down, and they've been down for months, potholes that I've called in multiple times. So, this is the backup to my and my constituents' everyday experience. So I'm not just, picking at SLAs and throwing those up. We actually experience those as we drive through the city. So hope to continue to see improvement there. Another issue which we have spoken about before and hope to see more and more improvement on is permitting, not just the speed at which we get those out to the utilities and customers that need them, but actual enforcement, and not just with our contractors as in DOT contractors and private contractors, but also with other city departments. Is it the policy of the city, ATLDOT, for the Department of Watershed Management to have to get a permit to cut into our streets, to close a lane, to close a road? And if so, are they also subject to paying the bond? And what is the inspection or closeout on your department side? Because really, that is most of the quote-unquote potholes that get reported to me are actually Watershed abusing our streets and not being accountable for their work. And I haven't driven up there recently, but they provide water to more cities than just Atlanta. And I would highly doubt those cities let Watershed get away with what they do here in our city.
I can't speak to the other cities. However, we've established a great relationship with Watershed, especially over the last year. Our permitting program has been adjusted to try to address and better address the permitting enforcement challenges. That's a ever evolving improvement process. We're working with Department of City Planning to think about how our systems work better together. We're making progress on that, and our inspectors are getting training, and they're out on the roads. But I will say that relationship with Watershed is improving. And as we've spoken before, we're looking forward to making sure that enforcement is done, taking full advantage of the bonds, which they have to submit, and addressing the needs of the residents.
So Watershed should be getting permits and should be paying bonds to your department?
Question, yes.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, and I hope to see more and more enforcement of that, of quality repairs, because that is also my real-time experience coming through driving to City Hall this morning. It was actually on a state route where Watershed, I guess, repaired it by throwing in some cold mix, and it's extremely rough on a street that the state just resurfaced maybe a year or two ago. When will the long requested and talked about PCI study and hopefully delivered with that a 5 to 10 year resurfacing plan be completed and delivered to council members?
The data for the asset evaluation is in. We have some cleaning up to do, and we're working with the consultant. So a short answer to your question, we will let you know when we'll distribute that. My estimates are next quarter, but we're going to be meeting with you individually to talk about your programs. So we will do a tertiary or a draft review of the findings, and we'll talk about when we can officially hand that over, because we have to make sure that everything is clean and in good standing. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Lastly, how can, I know we have a number of capital projects, but given we are under a federal consent decree, who knows how much longer the ADA will exist in this current state, but how can we follow progress of reported deficiencies in our sidewalks and ramps, and the departments addressing those promptly, given we are under that consent decree? I think that would be a great idea for another dashboard, which I thought was one of the requirements under the consent decree, to be able to keep up with this information and the progress ATLDOT is making on sidewalk and ADA ramps.
So as per the consent decree, we have to submit the paperwork and our status to the courts and to the plaintiffs or the monitor. However, we have been under development of the data dashboard in terms of our progress, and we'll meet with you to share the progress of that. We're working with law and others, so we're very proud of the work we're doing. And actually, we're working with the Mayor's Office of Equity to think about how we use our processes by way of this consent decree across the city. So that tool is being developed now as per the decree.
All right. Thank you to you and your department, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Councilmember Faruqi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for the report. First, I want to give a kudos to DC Smith and his team. There have been a number of occasions in the last month, too, where I've flagged something that needs addressing, and they've been on it within 24, 48 hours. I just want to say thank you all for helping. It could be a pothole, it could be a downed something or another, but they've been very responsive. I just want to say the district appreciates it. I'm sure other residents in the city appreciate your work as well. You mentioned Juniper Street, complete street project, slated for I think you said June completion. Can you confirm that includes resurfacing? Is that correct?
Is Juniper overlay? I'll have to confirm that with Midtown Alliance, but if I'm not mistaken, some of the major stretches are see pavement improvement.
Okay. I mean, a lot of the heavier lifts, the curbs being and it also includes bike infrastructure too. Is that right? Okay. The road's in bad shape. I mean, a lot of the bigger building blocks have been put in place, but I think the last bit will be to resurface it. I want to make sure that's on the agenda and not falling through the cracks, because I get a few complaints about it.
Well, I complain about it myself. I will say it better not be left the way it is.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
follow
Okay.
up with
But if I could get just confirmation that offline, that would be great. And the last thing is just a point of, I think, repeated frustration from some of my colleagues and myself, which is on the MAF projects, district specific, whether they are discretionary or not, it'd be great to have some more unsolicited updates. I feel like I'm always kind of pulling teeth and say, hey, where are these sidewalk projects, or where are these speed tables, or whatever it may be. So it'd be helpful if your team could reach out and say, hey, let's talk about where your MAF projects are, especially the discretionary ones that are a little less high profile than the bigger projects that are on the table.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, council member. And I want to say, in conversations with the chair, we're thinking about strategies in terms of how we communicate better with Transportation Committee and the General Council, because we have some input that we need. So I appreciate that point.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. That brings us to the last of the list. Commissioner, I also just want to say thank you, in which I have done in other committees, to your team for the response. Snow 2 times in Atlanta is a historic event, but you guys handled it marvelously, you and the airport as well. Just for clarification, you said you would be meeting with each individual member, but that's that's each council member and just not the committee as well, correct? Okay, just want to say that out loud so people won't come back and say just me with the committee. But then leading into that, let us know what we need to have ready for you to help us. If it's the complete planning of our moving Atlanta forward money, I'm guilty, I haven't did it. So if we need to plan that out so you can better, help us, help our constituents, let us know before you get to that meeting. So you're just not meeting to talk about the meeting. So,
Thank you.
But other than that, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, team, we need to go back a minute after strong advocacy of the council person that represents the district. We missed someone on our, they left actually. So, Brother Muhammad, we will allow you to address the committee.
I have something I want to give to the members of this council. Hey, Gan, could you have somebody pick up this material, please? All right. I am Brother Anthony Muhammad. I am a spiritual, soulful believer in transparency. I believe in justice, fairness, and equality for the comedic, dark, anti-matter people here in Atlanta. The majority of people in this city still are dark, anti-matter people. And I come in and ask you, why is it that after the years that Mr. Fawoki was the Transportation Commissioner, I gave him the same information I'm asking them to give you today. 1994, in my community, Tail Road was not paved. It was not paved with sidewalks and curbs in 1994. But in 2010, they paved the other part that I live on, Miss Overstreet. You know about that. And they gave us sidewalks, and we got a paved street. And we've talked about it, Mr. Sullivan. I appreciate it. But what I want to make comment today, if you heard what I said, dark matter, anti-matter people, this city of the 21st century has dropped the ball on Martin Luther King, dropped the ball on the civil rights workers, dropped the ball on all of those members that wanted truth, justice, and equality for the whole of America. But now, since we're talking in Atlanta, how could you all drop the ball on Martin Luther King? We had over 20-some people dead in Fulton County, in the jailhouse. We had over 20-some people died on the streets of Atlanta. Transportation Committee, and you recently had what? A brother got ran over by a trash truck in the city of Atlanta. Mr. Fawoki, this by his second term, first 2 terms since he's still sitting there, he still didn't work on that, getting my road finished over there on Tail Road. After I gave him the material, gave him the research. Then I come back 2 years ago, Mr. Amos. Now here you go again. Before you became the chair of this transportation committee, I gave you that information. I researched this money, shared it with you, let you know community members won't support. But what I'm finding out, Mayor of Atlanta, you do us the same way you do with this committee you got, ACOT. ACOT is a committee that's supposed to represent the interests of seniors and children and women. We got more people dying on the street in Atlanta because you millennium, they name you. Y'all not sensitivity, don't have the empathy. You do have empathy, but not empathy for the benefit of your people. You see them on the street every day. You're not doing anything for them. You in the Democratic Party, do you know when it started the Democratic Party? 1829. Do you know what happened in 1816? Mr. Andrew Jackson on your $20. He ran my peoples out of Georgia. My people, Miss Overstreet, we was always here in ATLDOT. We was always here wrestling with this Caucasian for 400 years. But we get you all to come in. We think that y'all gonna do for us. 1994, what year it is? 2004. For Woke, Mr. Amos, you've been here 2 terms, Miss Overstreet. I've been with you talking over the years. But I have problems when we find favor for Cascade Road, Lyndhurst Road, Danforth, now they got some speed bump. Do you know them same areas have lamps on the street, sidewalks on the street, paved road, sidewalk got cement and blocks, very professional. But what else do they have? These highly empowered economic Negroes. I don't want to take them from my brothers and sisters, but I don't see them come down there begging for the poor man. But they have lamps on the street. Danforth Road, Cascade. You won't even pave in 1994. And I had these 2 persons that been over this chairmanship. And I had to come down here. Can I speak? Can I speak? Now, some of y'all might not like, I don't really care. But I come down to talk about the way dark people being treated. And under the leadership, still, the majority are you, dark anti-matter, and the people's in Atlanta. The majority still, what? 260,000 look like me. And about 60% of them, you hear me? You say about 60% of them, right here in the metropolitan Atlanta area, can't find no place to stay. Even though they work, can't afford it. I got a $2,000 tax bill from Atlanta. I used to pay $300 for 30 years. About $1,500 for Fulton County. But you take all this money and give it back to those ones that have $300,000, $500,000 houses. Or maybe even like Danforth Road, you got some over there back too. But I live on the left side of Camden Road. Anybody been on Camden Road? Remember that. You take Camden from Camp Creek Parkway all back to Lee Street. Anything on the right side, the treat us like we do. Coming of the slave. These folks do that. I shouldn't have to come down here and beg and tell you to do the work that you promised that you're going to do. I shouldn't have to do that. What the hell, how y'all talking in these presentations? Oh, we're doing this for Nisca Lake. We're doing this for Danforth Road. We're doing this for all of those, Lyndhurst. I can name the streets where the dark matter people live. I ain't talking about the Caucasian, Wadsworth, Ford Road, Piedmont Road, Howard Mill Road. But when are you going to come up my road? You got the paper. I shouldn't have to ask you, Miss Overstreet, when you going to get paved a road that been paved in 30 years. You should use the word called prioritization. Prioritization, Mr. Warren. We should be able to move up to the front of the line. If one of them Caucasian or somebody, I would respect them to be moved up to the front of the line. I would want you to move them up. Just like the President Trump doing. Got these brothers and sisters living on the street that look like me. And you Democrats, along with your Biden, Mr. Biden, I give him that. Y'all pay millions of dollars for people don't look like us. And we the ones suffering. Georgia treated us worse than anyone I know.
Thank you, sir. You're over your time. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you be able to give me that, sir. And thank you for that time. Because I didn't greet you as I came. And Brother Anthony Muhammad, I say, Ashe, Ma'at Mesrat Hotep, Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Biden, are you going to be the chairman for this entire year?
God willing.
I thought you didn't answer questions, sir, but you answered that one. So the last year and the year before,
You're
you
over
should
your
be able to
time,
comprehend
sir.
me
We'll
quite well.
talk after the meeting. Thank
Man,
you.
don't tell
That
me
takes
to
us
talk
to
after the
number
meeting, brother.
8.
Don't tell me to
Johnson,
talk.
move
You
us
never had
forward,
the second
please.
term, you
Can
still
you cut my
didn't.
mic off, please? Thank you. Communications, please.
Mr. Chair, there is no objection from the body. Can we take items number 1 and 3 together? The appointees for these communications are absent at today's meeting.
Yes, you can move forward. I'm sorry.
Item number 1, 25C0008, a communication from Attorney James Bradford submitting the appointment of Ms. Sally Flox to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Americans with Disabilities Act Advisory Committee. Item number 3, 25C0010, a communication from Attorney James Bradford submitting the appointment of Ms. Cardin Wyckoff to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Americans with Disabilities Act Advisory Committee. The recommendation is to hold.
Second. Motion has been made to hold both items. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are held.
Thank you. Next item.
Takes us back to item number 2, 25C0009. A communication from Attorney James Radford submitting the appointment of Ms. Maria Sotnikova to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Americans with Disabilities Act Advisory Committee.
I believe the appointment is here. The appointee is here. Yes, please. If you could approach the mic, just give us your name and express your willingness to serve. I don't think there will be any questions, but if they are, and we have someone to come and help you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Maria Sotnikova, and I am interested in serving on this committee.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote. Councilwoman Overstreet, second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Thank you very much. There's a couple of more steps. We will be in contact with you, but I don't think you have to appear in front of any more committees, but thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
That takes us to our consent agenda, first readings.
Section I, ordinance for first reading, item number 4, 25O1086. An ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as designee to accept grant funding from the 2024 Comprehensive Transportation Plan Funding Assistance Program on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend the fiscal year 2025 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $2 million and 0 cents to increase the budget amount authorized by the Atlanta Regional Commission for the purpose of updating the City of Atlanta's transportation plan to authorize the city to commit matching funds from the transportation fund in the amount not to exceed $500,000 and 0 cents to enter into any necessary grant agreements for grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes. Item number 5, 25O1087. An ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive procurement source selection provisions contained in sections 2-1187 and 2-1163 of Article 10 Procurement Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code revisions on behalf of the Department of Aviation to complete the remaining work to agreement listed herein. Runway L end-around taxiway Phase 2 at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company Incorporated, and complete the project in the amount not to exceed $6,045,679 and 0 cents. All services will be charged to and paid from the accounts numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 6, 2050-1088, an ordinance by Transportation Committee amending the fiscal year 2025 Airport Renewal Fund, Revenue Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations in amount not to exceed $5,017,500.00 to the Airport Revenue Fund to provide funding for various initiatives and projects at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes. Item number 7, 2050-1089, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive procurement source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 of Article 10 Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions on behalf of the Department of Aviation to complete the remaining work to agreement listed herein, cargo expansion site preparation at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Matthews Kelly joint venture and complete the project in the amount not to exceed $4,400,000.00. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 8, 2050-1090, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive the competitive procurement source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 and Sections 2-1292E of Article 10 Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provision to execute an amendment to change the joint venture partner and funding for agreement listed herein, perimeter gates inspection and exits with OS HSG joint venture doing business as OS 3 joint venture on behalf of the Department of Aviation at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport, an amount not to exceed $27,935,020.95. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, these are items for first read. There's no action required.
Correct. That takes us to our regular agenda, and if there's anything we can lump together and take at once, please do so.
Section J, ordinance for second reading, item number 9, 2050-1054, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos, waive the sidewalk requirements of Section 15-9.003 of Part 15 Land Subdivision Ordinance of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to provide that a certain subdivision applicant, SD 241, 943 Wright Street Northwest, deposit a dollar amount of $32,534.39, equal to the value of the required sidewalk construction into the designated trust fund account for District 3 and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the recommendation is to hold.
Motion to hold. Motion been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is held in committee.
Thank you. Next item.
This takes us to Section K, resolutions. Item number 1025R3123, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Austin Road Southwest between Melvin Road Southwest and Campground Road Southwest in order to reduce speeding and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment makes minor revisions in the third whereas clause of the legislation.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Chair, can you approve the mover and the seconder?
Councilmember Vaughn made the motion. I second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is amended.
Amended item is before us. Motion has been made and second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 11, 25R3145, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the Department of Aviation Airport Art Program to continue to procure loaned art for rotating exhibitions at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport for a period of 5 years, and authorizing the mayor to execute new agreements or renew existing agreements with various arts and cultural organizations and private collectors for the loan of artwork and artifacts to the City of Atlanta Department of Aviation for exhibition on display in cases located throughout the Central Passenger Terminal Complex and the International Terminal for the city's airport art program and for other purposes.
Motion to approve. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 1225R3146, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend resolution number 24R3660 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 3rd, 2024, and approved by the mayor on June 4th, 2024 by adding an additional funding source, all other parts of legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be substituted. The substitute adds additional funding sources.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you.
Second. Motion has been made to approve and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Item number 1325R3147, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing mayor or designee to execute an agreement listed herein, Marietta Boulevard Scoping Study Phase 2 with Pond and Company on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options, an amount not to exceed $1,120,951.14. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, the Department of Aviation requested to take items 14 through 16 together as a block if there is no objection from the committee.
Any objection? Seeing none, proceed.
Item number 1425R3148, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund, an amount not to exceed $5,430,186.00 for the use under managing general contractor services contracts at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for the Department of Aviation on the task order basis. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 1525R3149, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint component guaranteed maximum price fund, an amount not to exceed $13,450,000.00 for use under 4 on-call construction management at risk contracts for services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for the purposes. Item number 1625R3150, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund, an amount not to exceed $5,211,970.00 for use under 4 small architectural and engineering design service contracts listed herein for services to be performed at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion to approve the 3 items. Motion has been made and second. Councilmember Hill is what's second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Item number 1725R3151, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend Resolution 25R3004 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on February 3rd, 2025, for the purpose of adding the funding source and account information, all other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged, and for the purposes.
Second. Motion has been made and second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. Any comments, concerns? Councilwoman Overstreet.
I do have a quick comment. I was trying to find out under the legislation about the arts, the airport arts program. I have a specific ask from the King family. They just want to, I really need a list of what's in that, which pieces we're having a contract for the next 5 years with? Who do I speak with directly for that?
If, could you come up to the mic and state your name, please?
My apologies, I didn't anticipate needing to speak.
Introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Lauren Kolodkin. I'm the program coordinator for the Airport Art Program at Hartsfield-Jackson. The object in question is a single item. It's a liturgical robe that belonged to Martin Luther King Sr. and was loaned briefly to his son when they were both preaching together at Ebenezer. It was then later passed down from Sr. to his daughter and from his daughter to MLK's niece, who is the one we have the loan agreement with currently. Yeah.
Okay, do we have a list? Like, is there a,
That's the only item.
that's the only item?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
There are other items in the larger exhibit, but the only item that is currently without a loan agreement is that one. We will be discussing it more in the committee meeting at 1:30 p.m. today.
Okay, should we amend the legislation to just include that information specifically, or, because it's very vague?
Yes, that's a good question. I would like to do some speaking with my supervisor before agreeing to anything like that. I'll let you know.
Just a minute, colleagues.
Michael Smith, Deputy General Manager. No, I don't think we need to amend this specific legislation. At the Finance Exec Committee, we have the legislation regarding the robe, and that refers to.
Got it. Okay, well, I'll see you at 1:30.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is that it? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Amos,